I have, in the last, I don't know, I guess in the last couple of months, I've started seeing a lot of things popping up in the yard that I did not put there. And one of those is this plant, and there are actually, or were, three. I just dug out one of them, or two of them. This is Jimson Weed, or otherwise known as Sacred Datura, or Devil's Apple. I run into a lot, as I did some research on it, I ran into a lot of different situations, or different names for it. Now, if you can watch that bee, he's disoriented. He can't fly, he can't find the pollen. He's been hovering around this particular plant, nibbling on that pollen for, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Hasn't moved. He just keeps going back and back and back and back. Those flowers are really, really pretty, and I thought that I would leave this plant to the end of the season. But unfortunately, I saw a bee hover around it long enough the other day that she was actually unable to fly. Eating the pollen, the Sacred Datura, or Jimson Weed, is extremely poisonous to humans. Every part of the plant is poisonous. And although there are some medicinal uses, the poison is not, or the uses don't balance out the poison. Now that bee is getting aggressive. It just flew around my head and then went right back to that same flower. And that second bee, it looks like, is starting to get disoriented as well. A couple of times I've seen them fall down into the flower and just lay there for a while and then go right back to the pollen. So I'm thinking that this is highly addictive for the bees, and they collect the pollen and they pretty much just sit there and eat it and just completely ignore what they're supposed to be doing. These are probably bees from the same hive, and yet they're fighting over that pollen. And I decided this is not something that I want to have in my yard. If it's going to destroy the bees, if the bees are going to pollinate it and then die, which is what it looks like is happening, I don't want it. So I dug that one out. Hold on just a second, let me get the other one. Okay, now I was thinking that this came up from a seed, from the seed bank under the ground, but I think it actually came up from a dormant root, because look at that. That is part of what I dug out. This is part of what I dug out. That is a massive, massive root for a first-year plant. And yes, it would have to be massive in order to support the plant, but I think what we've actually got is a root network for the Jimson Weed under the ground, and these came up as mature plants rather than first year. So I may be fighting this battle for a long time. I'm going to allow the bees. I'm going to just leave these plants here until these existing flowers are gone, because I don't want to fight the bees. And if they do survive and take the pollen back to their hive, I don't know what the purpose is behind this behavior. I don't know exactly what's going on, so I'm just going to let it happen. Another thing that I've noticed is that bees are actually ripping through the case on the flower to get to the pollen. So it looks like this is highly addictive and to the bees. And whether they're taking it back to their hive and it'll kill the queen, I don't know. Unfortunately, not knowing, I don't know whether this is special food for her and it's something that will help her. I doubt it, but I'm not going to interfere. Now, these are honeybees, so you can watch them. There is one more that I haven't pulled out yet, but these bees are actually getting aggressive. They're starting to attack me because of the flowers that probably because of the flowers that I'm sitting next to. But I wanted to show you that, and it's actually fascinating to watch the bees work the flowers, but this is unusual behavior, and I'm guessing that they are drunk to a certain extent and unable to function as they should. He's sliding around. He is totally disoriented and can't find, yeah, there he goes, sort of. Anyway, as the time goes on, they get more and more disoriented. So I don't want this in my yard, and I'm going to, once these flowers have died, I'm going to pull out the last one. So let me show you. This is the leaf. Looks very much like my. It's a nightshade, just like a tomato. But this looks very much like the leaves of my Schwarzenbeeren, except much, much larger. Okay. This is a flower bud. You can see the spiral shape on the top. And unfortunately, that's the root I pulled out. And this one's got a similar root. I only pulled out part of it, so I'm expecting that I'll get more pieces coming up. I will talk with you later.